Welcome back to the Miles Offside podcast. Well, nope, I hate it. I hate when I change it. It just feels wrong. Fuck that. Never mind. 3, 2,
abort.
Welcome to another episode of the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nothing. My name is Oscar Puente, also known as Footy from Afar, and with me as always is my co-host, Chuck Bailey. Alright, and chuckling in the background, he's our favorite producer in the world. It's Ian Stimson.
So Chuck can add Diego Maradona to his Neil Warnock impression.
Building up quite a catalogue of managers here now, guys.
Oh, man.
That's a man that probably shouldn't have a camera and a microphone in front of him.
I think you mean should always have a microphone and a camera in front of him.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah. He is a delight, man. That just took me back to the World Cup for a second. Our early days recording and the madness at the World Cup with Diego.
When he looked like he was having spiritual experiences.
When he's not flipping off the rest of the dignitaries or whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Nigerian dignitaries he was just swearing at? Oh, God. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, kids.
Yeah, and allegedly interacting with some fans in exchange of monetary goods for illicit substances, maybe.
I'm not even sure you need to say allegedly there. I think we're fine.
I'm pretty sure it was on camera.
Yep. So, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We're happy to have you. We are a football/soccer podcast that goes on tangents quite a lot. If you are coming back because you liked our Marvel Super Spectacular special episode, sorry to disappoint. We are not a nerd Marvel podcast every week, but it comes up not infrequently because we are pretty big nerds. And if you're coming back from even before that, then find a better way to spend your time. Really, this is a problem now.
Problem for us, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming back. Yeah,
it's doing nothing for my drinking habit.
Are you saying you have to be drunk to pod with us?
No, I'm just saying it happens. I don't know, because it kind of feels like, because with the baby and stuff, it's not like I go out much, like me and the missus. So it's kind of like having a beer with some friends. Although tonight I've got a nice bottle of Malbec. So
lovely.
Nice. Fancy.
Yeah,
Very
I'm wondering if we should start a feature which is drink along with Mop.
Yeah.
We just tell people what we're drinking this week. So I'm drinking from Sainsbury's a nice Argentinian Malbec, Santa Julia.
Very nice.
Ian, what are you drinking?
Bulmers,
lovely. And Oscar, what are you drinking right there?
Typical American. I'm drinking soda. Just lots of soda all the time.
Okay, so there you go. That's a Coke Zero. So there you've got the beginner, the medium, and the expert level of podcasting. So just pause the podcast now, pop to the shops, and choose whichever drink you prefer out of which presenter. And
I like that.
Yeah, and then join us. We're going to start looking at a thing.
One's likely to give you liver disease, and one's likely to give you diabetes. So go ahead and pick your poison.
Yeah,
Well, gentlemen, can you believe it? Quarter of a century, episode 25, the big one.
Doesn't seem like it could be episode 25. I suppose we did get a lot of mileage out of the World Cup, didn't we?
Yeah, we did record a lot because we were so buoyant on England's performance. And by buoyant, I mean drunk.
Yeah, I was going to say some more than others.
But yeah, episode 25, so I've got a 25 fact. It was 25 years ago that Manchester United beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-1 and set the Red Devils on course to give Alex Ferguson his first title. They beat out Aston Villa to second place. They were runners-up that year in the Premier League. Norwich City were in third. Steve Bruce scored 2 headers to turn the game around, and the second of which was in the 97th minute, and that's when the term Fergie time was born.
Ooh.
There we go. That was like a multitude of 25 facts.
I know. That was almost 25 facts about the number 25. Chuck, do you have any particular memories of getting destroyed in Fergie time or Fergie time playing, being a victim of Fergie time?
Being a victim of Fergie time. No, Palace haven't really had much going on with like Man United. We've had some good like cup finals, obviously, and just getting dicked. But that was the one in '91 was before Ferguson's time. Then I think we knocked them out in 2000 something with a lovely goal. And then obviously the FA Cup final recently, but that was Louis van Gaal's army. Add that to the manager.
Another one. Yeah.
Another one. I should put this stuff on my CV. It'd be great. But no, we only just got our first point against Man United in the Premier League era, for God's sake, this week. Just dropping that one in there because we probably won't talk about that terrible game much.
That 0-0, yeah.
We'll give it a passing glance, I think. All right, well, as is our usual style, we'll start off with some news stories. Then we're going to actually this week dig deep into one particularly notable football match from the weekend, take a quick break, and then come back, dig into the rest of the matches, look at some predictor games, and preview next week's episodes, do some listener questions, etc., and call it a day. So let's get right to it with our rapid fire news. Our top story this evening: England to play in the finals of the Nations League against Portugal next summer. Gentlemen, is it finally coming home?
That was a very reserved way of saying that, Oscar. Way to put a dour spin on it. It's almost like a team that you like got relegated in that competition.
I know what you're talking about. That's definitely not our second news story.
What we were talking about is coming home was Group A4 of the inaugural 18-19 Nations League, ladies and gentlemen. That's what was coming home.
Oh, that's such a ring to it.
Oh, it scans really well.
Are you going to get that on the back of an England jersey?
Yeah, I'm going to get a UEFA Nations League Group A4 patch on an England shirt.
Nice.
I can't wait to hear that as a lyric in Three Lions 2032.
Do you guys care? Do you honestly care?
I don't know. I kind of catch myself caring a little bit just because it's like competitive. But then you see the four teams that went through, and it's England, Portugal, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, and it's not exactly the most inspiring of top fours.
Yeah,
no.
it's not.
No. Dare we say that England could actually be favourites, which means we'll just get battered in the first game. Overall, though, I don't think you can say that the Nations League wasn't really a success. Like, the idea of the tournament is great, you know, whether you don't agree or you think it's quite convoluted or confusing at the minute with the setup. But I think it's great to have more competitive games.
Yeah, it's better than friendly, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and have something to root for. And, you know, you look at like the bottom leagues and you see teams like, you know, Moldova won 2 games. Luxembourg won a few games. Faroe Islands, Gibraltar even. Gibraltar went on a 2-match win streak. You know, like all these teams that actually get the chance. And, you know, Scotland got promoted and might play in the same group as Germany.
Yeah, the big boys. Germany playing the big boys in the next division. Yeah, no, not every team had success.
No.
In the Nations League.
They didn't, did they?
No, Germany, that's our next story, I guess, if we have to talk about it.
Well, you write the section, so if you put that as second...
we wouldn't let him get away with it if he didn't.
Yeah, you know. Germany got relegated after a 97th minute goal from Holland.
Yeah, Germany 2-0 up in the 85th minute to have a emotional 2-2 draw.
Is that really how it happened?
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I paid zero attention to it. They were up 2-0 in the 85th.
Yep.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That's so bad.
Oh, that's beautiful that you were able to tell him that live.
Yeah, I really didn't know that.
Yeah, you've got to worry whether Yogi Low is going to be kept on, like, after the embarrassment of the World Cup and then this, like...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to Yogi Löw in a few weeks, but I'd have to imagine that his priority is the actual qualification process for the Euros and not this weird bullshit sort of qualification thing.
Oh, you're saying that now because Germany are relegated, right?
Yeah, I've been. I was really big up on the Nations League until Germany got relegated. Now I don't care.
Chuck, we have no room to talk. We're all of a sudden really interested in the UEFA Nations League.
Listen, we're all very busy and we just pick and choose what we can, and we just happen to have got into the Final Four, guys. So...
Wait, so you're the expert on this. I thought that it actually is beneficial to be in the second level because that's the level that wins potentially a free spot into the Euros. Isn't that true?
No, there's now a 4-place playoff within the 4 winners of the groups, which happens after the Euros qualification to decide who would be like the Nations League champion. But then if you have already qualified for the Euros, you wouldn't be in that qualification. So potentially then a second place spot would move up and in, and et cetera, et cetera. There's an actual really good video on it that describes it much better than I could. There's like graphics and stuff and different coloured dots, and it's quite enjoyable with a lovely narrator. And if you look that up, that kind of explains, I think it's about a 7-minute video on how exactly...
Alan Partridge's Guide to World Cup 94.
Goal! To describe kind of how it works from here, because there'll be playoffs. It doesn't really make a difference so much. I mean, in a way it does what league you're in, but more as insurance if you don't qualify for the Euros in a traditional way. So say, for example, somehow next year, Germany through the Euro qualifiers didn't qualify, but they were in League B. Well, then they would be in a 4-team bracket to take an extra qualification spot. And bearing in mind, most of the good teams probably would have qualified the traditional way. Then they could be playing really weak teams and it could help them. But it's very much like although it could be potentially beneficial, like you're running a big gambit by basically throwing away the standard form of Euro qualification to then go into a crapshoot in a knockout bracket.
So what you're saying is Germany are playing the long game and being strategic by making for themselves a safety net in case anything happens to go wrong through traditional qualifying. Now they'll be the best safety net team.
I mean,
that's what I'm taking away, and we're moving on.
But just so you know, wouldn't happen.
Moving on.
That wouldn't happen until the
I said
next
we are moving on.
Cycle of tournaments. You don't get it.
Next story. FIFA ethics judge arrested in Malaysia on suspicion of corruption.
Oh my God. I forgot that we were going to bring this up. And I love...
it was a while ago now, but it's so good.
It was. I remember you sending a message in a WhatsApp group like, oh, this is just so delicious that the ethics judge is under investigation for being unethical. Oh, you can take Blatter out of FIFA.
Yeah, it's amazing. He was arrested in Malaysia on suspicion of corruption on a Tuesday, the 20th, and resigned on Wednesday as Director of Arbitration Services. He was detained by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission after returning from FIFA business in the previous evening.
With loads of used notes in his suitcase.
Unless he was being trained as an assassin to do a Zoolander situation and kill the Malaysian Prime Minister.
Yeah, everything's Zoolander, Chuck.
Everything's Zoolander.
Oh, is there a more FIFA thing than being arrested for corruption at this point?
It's just when you see it and you just think that, that all makes perfect sense.
There's a slightly more FIFA thing, and that's wanting to expand the World Cup to 48 teams, so as it now has to go to the neighbouring countries of Qatar as well, which is fucking insane.
What's his name? Gianni Infantino. Who just all of a sudden just goes, oh, well, maybe we'll make the Qatar World Cup 48 teams or not.
Yeah.
You look at the American model and they did it with Mexico and Canada and they don't have like the best relationship. Yeah, but it would be Qatar with Saudi Arabia and like countries that are massively anti each other publicly just going, oh yeah, just share it.
It's nuts.
I'm still telling myself it's not happening.
How fucking weird is that going to be? Like the Premier League season, 10 games in, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, we'll see you guys in January.
I mean, and how long does it have to shut down for? Because obviously there's all the stuff around it. It's...
But especially if they make it a 48-team World Cup.
Yeah, it's going to go on forever, isn't it?
Oh my God. Like, how would it work? What would they do in the summer? Like, would they still
Even Wales might qualify at that point.
Let's not. Let's not go that far. And also, Oscar, you're very much in a glass house situation right now.
Okay, all right.
You'll just about qualify for the one you're hosting, mate.
Yeah. Ooh, everything is great. Everything's great. All right.
Haven't even got on to Chelsea yet.
I know. What a fucking great episode. I'm so happy to be recording. Next story. Premier League to start using VAR from next season.
There we go. Cheer up, Oscar.
We got what we wanted. VAR. VAR.
Cameraman. Yeah, it's going to be good, isn't it?
Very excited.
Unless it's that thing they said where it's going to be like one room watching 6 games at once. I'm not a fan of that.
That's still better than no rooms watching no games at once.
Yeah, that's true. I want one guy, I want them all in the same kit. I want there to be a Sky subscription option where you can press the red button and vote for VAR. That's what I want the next logical step to be, guys. Now that the door is slightly ajar, let's force in a load of ridiculous suggestions and imply that decisions could be made by popular vote.
Make Simon Cowell the head of VAR for the Premier League.
Now, you see where this is going? You see, this is it. This is it. You drop something out there in the world and it starts to snowball.
This is like our Marvel episode all over again. Chuck's just giving away good ideas.
I know, yeah. Left, right, and centre.
No, but you know what? I just want to see these things happen. And that's it. And I want Simon Powell to sit... Simon Powell? Simon Powell. That's not his name, is it? To just sit there and have a video presented to him and him just go, it's a no from me. And then that's it. And then carry on with the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say other than finally fucking about time, and that's great.
Yeah. Praise be to Charlie Austin for making it happen. Coming in, Oscar, what happened with Chelsea this weekend?
We got fucking wrecked.
You
Spurs
really did.
3, Chelsea 1. Just to briefly throw the XG out there, it is 4.0 to Tottenham on the XG.
I saw that.
Ooh.
I saw that and just knew you would bring it up.
1.1 to Chelsea. So, that's an old school fucking beatdown.
A dickin'.
Nothing to say. Genuinely, Spurs were better. They had a fantastic game plan. They knew that if they shut down Jorginho, everything runs through him in the middle of the pitch. So they stuck, I think it was Ali. I kind of have blocked that out of my memory, but they put someone, I'm pretty sure it was Dele Alli, on him to man-mark him the entire time. So he was incredibly limited to the amount of passing he could do. He had I think it was 1/3 his usual average of passes completed in a match.
It was the lowest passes he's completed since he's played.
Yeah. And they were all backwards, which is also that was the bigger thing for me, is that he passes a ton, but he's not one of those midfielders who just passes back and forth with the center backs. He plays a lot of forward balls, and they completely eliminated that. And Chelsea just didn't know what to do with it. And Spurs were really good on the day. So before I guess I go off, why don't you guys tell me what you thought of the match?
I low-key said it last week and got, well, not last week, sorry, last time around, but got shot down that somehow Tottenham will end up finishing second this season. And that's because they're just kind of slowly ticking along, and then they'll have amazing performance like that where, Chelsea were flying. And Chelsea, there's been a lot of questions come up about Chelsea now, and I think we'll cover it a bit, saying were we too quick to judge, but not realising the irony that now you're being quick to judge to say that Chelsea aren't that good because of one result. Mm-hmm. The flaws are still there. David Luiz is still there. The best defensive midfielder in the world isn't playing as a defensive midfielder. Exactly as you said, you target the main pass maker and the main creator in that whole team, the kind of engine that everything runs through, and shut him out the game, and lo and behold, not that much happens. It's one of those cliches, and the XG shows it that Tottenham could have had or should have had 6 or 7 maybe in that game.
Yeah.
Watching it, I mean, I actually managed this weekend for the first time in God knows how long on Saturday to get all the way through till match of the day in the evening without knowing any scores.
Did the match of the day challenge?
And I actually did it because I was at work during the day. And I just bought a new TV, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna
do this properly.
Yeah, I am, because I finished work at about 8 o'clock so I could get home, and Match of the Day's on at 10:30 here, and do this properly. And I saw Tottenham-Chelsea come up first. And I thought, ooh, hello.
What's happened
This is
here,
going to
then?
be good. And then I saw Palace Man United come up last, and I thought, yeah, that's 0-0. Double-edged there. And
So tell us about your new TV. What kind of TV? What's the brand? What's it got? What are the features? And how did the football look on it? Let's talk about anything but Chelsea.
No, you're not getting away with that easily.
Yeah.
No, Tottenham did look really good, and it was also, they were just solid, and Chelsea just looked really lost. I mean, you look at the I think it was the second goal, which was Harry Kane's, where he kind of just drifts in about 30 odd yards out and just comes in and then comes across the box and just hits a shot, which is like a well-placed shot, but it's not really with massive pace or the type of venom you'd expect him to hit it. And David Luiz just moves out of the way. And as such, Arita Balaga kind of stands there and goes, wait, the defender hasn't blocked. Oh, it's in.
Yeah, Kepa was diving in the other direction already, or he was starting to cheat to dive in the other direction. And then the ball just like trickled past him. It was like a well-placed shot, but it wasn't hard hit. And he just like slowly watched it go by him. It was very, very aggravating. Although you mentioned Harry Kane, and I feel that I should, give credit where credit is due here.
Apologise for all your slating of him, you mean?
Well, let's be more nuanced than that.
Please.
Myself, along with all the other like analytics type people on the internet, spent a lot of the first few months of the season talking about, Harry Kane's broken. Harry Kane's not the same Harry Kane he was. And the numbers very much played that out. He was doing 1/3 as many shots per 90. The high intensity runs were basically dried up. Shots from outside the box were dried up, which is an implication that he's not creating space for himself, etc., etc. And in his last 3 matches, he's got the number had been down to 3 shots per 90. In his last 3 matches, he had 8 shots, 3 shots, then 5 shots. So, getting that up to above 5 per 90, which is obviously almost double and back closer to his original numbers. He's got 2 goals in those 3 matches. And specifically in this match, he got back to his old shooting numbers. He took shots from outside the box, including obviously his goal was from pretty far away. And a lot of actual sprints, to the point where my favorite soccer analytics person, Michael Cayley, he's a Spurs fan, and he tweeted during the match, Harry Kane is out there playing like a man with 2 ankles. So, which I thought was pretty funny. But also like obviously not great that it was happening against Chelsea. He had an old school Kane performance. And it wasn't just this one off. It's been his last like 3 matches. One of the other guys that I really, really like, Ted Knutson, who runs StatsBomb. And he came up with one of the big XG models. Tweeted out a radar map. Yeah,
I saw that of like the last month compared to
the last 3 matches compared to everything else. Yeah, exactly. And his shots per 90 are back up. His XG per 90 tripled. His successful dribbles is more than double what it was pre those 3 matches. So his numbers are back up. It's only 3 matches, so sample size, but like that's a genuine improvement compared to what they had been. The caveat there, I would say, being that those 3 matches were against Wolves, Crystal Palace, and Chelsea. Chelsea obviously being a very legitimate team on that list, but the other 2 being, no disrespect, Chuck, Wolves and Palace relegation type teams. Yeah. A promoted team and a team that looks likely to be in the relegation race. So like, a bit of salt on that, but he looked great. He really did look like Harry Kane of old. Yeah, so like his numbers have jumped back up recently, like especially in the last 3 matches, notably. But the concern is like, can he keep going with that? Right? And like, sure, he's healthy now and maybe he slowed down and he had some rest. Even if he kept playing like he played less intense and now he's picking that fitness back up. Is that sustainable? Or is he potentially going to burn out, gas out again if he starts going hard?
Yeah, well, I wonder if he had been saving himself or Tottenham had by taking it easy, just because of, it's very well known about how congested the fixture schedule gets this time of year. I mean, between now and New Year, there's 7 game weeks. So in like a month and 4 days, they have to play 7 games. It's outrageous. And then an 8th game week just a few days after that.
Yeah, and that's also not including Europe and cup competitions.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there could have been a bit of saving himself, and with his next fixtures being as good as they are, he could really hit a good vein of form for them to kick on and get a solid amount of points, because Man City are a steamroller still that are just going to keep on going. Like, fair enough, they were playing, no offense to West Ham, but they're not the best team, and they just blew them away 4-0, easy peasy. And you can, again, this year, you can just see them doing that to every team. So all these teams just have a chance of, the only way that they're going to get anywhere is just by holding on for dear life. The same as Liverpool. We've said Liverpool this year haven't really played with the shackles off so much. And that's because I think now, like, if they did play with the shackles off and go to that unchained, like, all-attacking Liverpool and got caught out in a couple of games, then the title race is over once again.
Yeah, and it is, looking more and more likely as far as the title race goes, with City just pulling away from everybody else, which, we've talked about a little bit, and we can always come back to that as the season progresses. But in terms of Tottenham, like, looking at their fixture list, and they have a ton of matches, but then they have Arsenal this weekend, and then the next, like, even remotely difficult, and that's at this point being generous, match is against United on the 13th of January. Like, all of their fixtures, I'm looking at the FPL one, are all 2s and 3s. So they have Southampton, Leicester, Burnley, Everton, Bournemouth, Wolves, and Cardiff are those matches. So, like, from an FPL perspective, good time to pick up Spurs players, but also, like, I guess maybe he won't have to exert himself that much. I don't know. I just feel like with Kane, Spurs go. And with him picking it back up and hitting old Kane form, that is potentially dangerous for the other teams in the table around them, notably Chelsea, but also to a lesser extent, or maybe to a greater extent, I should say, Arsenal and United, who are looking at Spurs and being like, no, we don't want you to pull away. We need this to be a race for 4th place.
I don't think Man United are even close to competing in that race now, man. Man United are 7 points off 4th. Like,
that's so poor.
They out.
That's true. All right.
That's so poor.
R.I.P. in peace, Jose Mourinho, right? So I guess to me, what I'm trying to say is, like, to sum it up, is the big question is, Kane looks better. Legitimately better. Not a fluke. I'll eat shit for what I talked. He looks better in the last 3 matches.
Well, you weren't.
Can that continue?
You weren't wrong. It's just, there has been an improvement. Yeah. There's been an improvement. He was not playing well, and the last few matches he has been, and look what's happening. So
yeah. So, like, going forward, does he continue that vein of form and finding his old boots? Or because, like, the fixtures are easy, but there's also a lot of them. So how do you balance that? Because, like you guys said, Llorente is useless. So he's going to have to play a lot of minutes, but it's going to be a lot of minutes against easier teams. So I have no idea, and we've talked a lot about how I'm terrible at predictions. Shut up, we'll get there. But I'm good at analysis. And so looking ahead, trying to predict it, I'm like, I could see either side of it, right? There's a lot of fixtures, so that is not great for someone who struggles with fitness and injury, but there's easy fixtures, so that bodes well. So, like, kind of who knows, I guess. But I think at the very least we can say Spurs thoroughly outplayed Chelsea. Kane thoroughly looked like his old self, and they fully deserve that. I mean, 4.0 on the XG is ridiculous. That's Man City level numbers, right? So they just fucking ran through Chelsea.
Well, I remember you made a comment a few weeks ago that those sorts of XG numbers don't usually come up unless you're talking Barcelona.
Right.
Generally,
anything
4s and 5s
above like
don't come
3-5 is like a crazy day.
Yeah.
Ever from any team.
Yeah, exactly. Never mind a top of the table kind of clash, like top tier teams. Like that's a good day at the office for Tottenham and a very bad day at the office for Chelsea. And it just goes to show that David Luiz should not be a Premier League player.
All right, so I think we thoroughly covered Tottenham there, so I guess we should switch over to Chelsea now. Move on over to the other team in that match before we get on for too long in part 1.
Was there another team in that match?
Yeah, oof. Oh, okay.
That's cold.
Ow.
Cold.
Oh, that hurt.
The first cut to the deepest,
Jesus
Oscar.
Christ. Okay. From the Chelsea fan perspective, because I know, Ian, you tweeted and were asking, like, is the honeymoon period over with Sarri? And that's kind of been at least the narrative in the media from this match. I don't agree with that at all, for two different reasons. Insofar as there was a honeymoon period, I don't really think that anything has changed. He had said it all along, and a lot of Chelsea fans were, myself included, saying, we're getting the results, but we're not playing that well. And they're going to start to click later on as we go further into the season. So as long as they can keep getting the results, once it starts clicking, that's when it starts to be much more dangerous. So I don't really think the issues that came up in this match are necessarily new issues. So from that perspective, I don't know that it kills a honeymoon period. I don't necessarily know that there was anything like a honeymoon period. It was just like, happened to be getting good results against weaker teams.
Yeah, no, but not even against weaker teams, but still playing well. But we said before the season starts, and you got to have a bit of perspective on it, that for Chelsea and Arsenal, there are huge changes going on. Arsenal for getting rid of Wenger and trying to change the ideology of 20-something years, and Chelsea for bringing in this entirely different style. And so for them to have a bump in the road, albeit, yes, it's, Tottenham tore them apart, but Tottenham, it's not like this was a result you got against Cardiff or Huddersfield or someone. So I don't think you can really say it's a honeymoon period falling down. I think it's just part of a rebuilding and restructuring period, really.
Yeah, exactly. And all of the issues that were, how Chelsea got defeated in this match are things that we have talked about on this pod, let alone much more intelligent and insightful people have talked about in the months since the season started. I've banged on and on about how the left flank, our defensive left flank, is how teams are going to destroy us. And you look at Son's goal, which admittedly a beautiful goal, but why is our slowest, weakest defensively midfielder playing left back there? Son blew through Jorginho on that play. And why is that? Because Alonso's never anywhere to be found on defense. And I've complained about that before. That's not a new thing. I mentioned that as far back as game week 2, the match that I was at with Arsenal. I said all of the chances that they were creating were coming up Alonso's flank. Right? And so that happened today. Or rather, against Spurs. You mentioned David Luiz. Right? And I said this online. David Luiz isn't great defensively. I think he's in the team for other reasons. Most notably his very, very good passing. Right?
Hair.
His hair and his passing, yes.
And the occasions when he decides that he wants to take a free kick and just smash a ball.
Oh, he's great. So, okay, I said this on Twitter, and I think, Ian, you might have retweeted it too, and that I said that Chelsea can have, realistically, they should only have one, at most, two of the following things if they want to be a successful team against better teams. Right? They've been able to pull it off against worse teams because they can kind of get away with a lot, but against a Liverpool, against the Spurs, God forbid, against the City, one of these things. Alonso at left back, Luiz at center back, or Jorginho instead of Kante at defensive mid. Right? If you're going to play Alonso, you can't have Luiz next to him because Luiz is not good enough to cover the entire left flank. He's not. He gets sucked into a tackle because he doesn't know what to do and he gets drawn out of position. That's what happened in the Son goal, right? And so, he can't handle an entire left flank. He needs a good defensive left back next to him if he's going to play center back, especially in a back four. Alonso needs a good defensive center back next to him if he's going to play the left back position because then, you would need someone to cover that space. Someone like a young John Terry who could cover an entire left side by himself. Or, if you're going to have those guys, then you need a damn good defensive midfielder to cover in front of them so that it stops the chances before they get there. And Jorginho is not that defensive mid.
If only Chelsea had one.
Right, exactly. So, you could play Kante, or you could play someone else at center back, or you could play a different left back. But something there needs to change. And all of those are things that we had talked about all season long. And I think that all of it just came to a head in this particular match, and it showed. The other thing we've talked about is why the hell is Willian starting over Pedro? I know Willian is better in isolation, but Pedro works better in the system. right? And Morata. What the fuck is Morata doing up there? Fun fact.
Being offside.
Hazard, well, besides being offside, yeah. Hazard has not scored a goal with Morata on the field. All 7 of Hazard's goals have been with Giroud on the field.
Another fun fact, Morata's been caught offside more than Bournemouth have this season.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. And he scored twice against Palace.
Hey.
Oh, dear.
I'm not even saying that Giroud is a better striker, because Giroud doesn't really score that many goals either.
But Giroud's great.
Giroud is
so
great
bloody
in
underrated.
the system. Yeah, he's great in the system because he's like a backboard off of which Hazard can play, and he creates space for Hazard, and Hazard goes and scores goals, right? So, like, these are all things that we've talked about over and over again, and all of a sudden, all of them paid out at once. And then what happens is Spurs put up 4.0 XG against Chelsea, because Chelsea are, like, you know, a defensive liability in a lot of ways. And so, like, I think that obviously it was upsetting and embarrassing and fucking terrible because it happened against fucking Spurs of all teams. Like, come on, guys. It's just Spurs. It's Spurs. Really?
There's the Fergie in you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that now Sarri has to address these issues. He can't get away with ignoring them anymore. So that's kind of the silver lining here for me, at least, is that, like, he has to know now. We either got to change the system or change the personnel.
Yeah, I think he does know, and he's very candid in his interviews, and not in the Mourinho slagging people off way. But when he just gets asked, "Are you in the place where you want to be right now?" He's like, "No, this could be better." You know, when he said about Alvaro Morata in one post match, and then after this game, he's like, "No, we weren't good enough, and that's not how we should play." And you know, he identifies the areas, but. No, before he started, he also said it would take until November to get to know where the team are.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is I want to see those changes enacted in the next match, like this weekend. I don't want to see that same lineup in that same formation.
That's the thing, because nothing you've said isn't sort of fixable. I mean, like you said, you've got a defensive midfielder. You don't have to play David Luiz on the same side as Alonso because he's constantly bombing forward. Yeah, it seemed weird to me that those sorts of basics weren't. You know, you don't set up like that against Tottenham. It seemed very odd to me.
It's the really concerning thing for me is the Luiz Alonso situation. Like, Willian, fine, just play Pedro. Morata, fine, just play Giroud. Central midfield, maybe switch Kante and Jorginho. It's not that Kante can't play that position. I think he's good with the ball on his feet. I think he's pretty good getting forward. He's been a really good box-to-box guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, you need the defense there. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it was a great match from a neutral perspective. Brutal match from a Chelsea perspective. But I'd imagine it was fun for everyone else to watch. And
it was a fun match to watch.
It was very good.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. And I'm not going to be one of those fans that's like, oh, fuck, sorry, fire him. And Luiz out. Like, you know, you try to be reserved, right? Like, you try to be somewhat objective about this. Spurs were better. They had the right tactics in shutting down Jorginho and attacking the left side. And Kane looked good. And that's basically it. Like, that's all it was. It's scary that it's that easy to shut Chelsea down. Now other teams are just going to stick someone on Jorginho too.
Maybe you should stop speaking about it then. Because a lot of people listen to us, bud.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up for, I think, that match. We'll take a short break because that took a while. And we'll come back, do a brief thing on some of the other matches from the weekend. And look ahead. Stick around, we'll be back in a bit.
Welcome back to the Miles Offside podcast, where I feel like we've spoken for a little bit too long about some good teams in the table, doing a deep dive on Tottenham, and even though they had a bit of a poor result this week, Chelsea, they're still a very good team. Let's talk about the bottom part of the table, chaps, because it's getting very, very close down there. Lest you have noticed, Newcastle are up in 13th place. After beating Burnley 2-1.
Heady heights.
They've won 3 of their last 4, gents. And the other one was a draw as well. And gone from bottom to 13th. And it's so close. Like, that bottom half of the table, is it just a load of sleeping giants? Or is it just a shower of crap?
Shower of crap. I mean, we said it before, didn't we? There seemed to be a real gap between the top half and the bottom half. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly cut like that, but I mean the gap is ridiculous. And yeah, I think it's going to be. I think you're going to get like teams going on little runs and leapfrogging a few. You know, I think it's going to be like this all season.
Yeah, I mean it's so close down there now. I mean Fulham got themselves a good win this week. Well, I say a good win. It's not like they were playing a good team in Southampton, but one of those games where they absolutely had to win. And with Ranieri coming in, because we missed that last week, talking about the great Stanley and Marvel. Ranieri comes in and gets Mitro to do a couple of goals.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I like some Mitro goals for my fantasy teams.
We all like some Mitro goals just for life in general. Like, he can't just be scoring them for Serbia, right? He's the second. He's in second place for top scorers in the league now on 7 goals.
Although, real quick, for all the love that Ranieri got, Fulham 1.4 to Southampton 1.6. So 3-2 is pretty high scoring from both teams, but especially for Fulham to win after having less XG than Southampton is pretty...
Yeah, but Southampton are garbage, aren't they?
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is they're both garbage. So Fulham getting a win, they weren't actually better, particularly, at least according to the numbers. They just happened to get a win, which happened, The only team that is like markedly worse than anyone else down there is Burnley. Burnley's underlying numbers continue to have them at bottom of the table and by a pretty wide margin compared to everyone else. Like, they are just by far the worst.
Yeah, and getting beaten out by Newcastle with 2 goals. It was 2-1 at half time, and neither of those teams score any goals. It's just typical that there then wasn't another goal whatsoever. But yeah, Newcastle enjoying a bit of a good run of form, which, as we said, has taken them from 20th to 13th. They've gone above West Ham in the table. But it's still only, if you can believe it, there are 4 points between 20th and 13th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
4 points. And the thing is, out of all of those teams in the bottom 8, Fulham are joint top scorers. So Fulham and West Ham are joint top scorers, and they're in like 20th and 14th respectively. And then the rest of the teams are just a shower of shit. I mean, and I can say that as now I officially support the lowest scoring team in the league.
Oh boy.
Now I know why Maradona was thinking it. Oh, I've got it now, like where it came from.
Just thinking about Crystal Palace's lack of goals.
Crystal Palace's lack of goals. I mean...
You had 13 shots against Man United.
I know. Oh, and Andros Townsend went
wasteful.
through, and David De Gea went full David De Gea and just did really well, as a world-class keeper should. And that was Man United's like second clean sheet of the season.
Yeah.
Townsend, that's got to be one of the misses of the season so far. I know it wasn't like a sitter or anything, but after doing all that work,
yeah, he ran through that whole team. Like, I think it was about 4 or 5 players.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal. But before the game, if you don't see that and you see, someone tells you before the game you're going to get 0-0 today. Like, I'd take that point against Man United at Old Trafford as well. Like, Palace for me, we had Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Man United, and to come out of that with 2 points, you can't really be too sad about that. When the team was so shit before. It's just whether now they actually do something and start to get themselves in a bit of a better position come January, because, Lord knows we need it.
Yeah. And here's something fun that I just noticed looking at the table. 20th place is as close to 10th as United are to Tottenham. Fuck.
Okay.
That is equally a statement on how tight it is at the bottom and how many shit teams there are, and how really genuinely bad United have been this season. United aren't underperforming their numbers. They're exactly where they should be in terms of their numbers. They're fucking terrible.
Yeah, they are very much. I like, because I said that we were going to talk about the good teams in the first half and the bad teams in the second. And I think Man United are quite a good linkway between that, because they're a good team that are just shit.
Yeah, 1.3 to 1.1 against Palace.
Yeah, shit team. And it's good to see Mourinho digging out Anthony Martial after the game, because he's not really performed much recently.
Send him into the loving arms of a certain blue team in London. I wouldn't mind. A certain blue team in London that could use a striker.
He's one of about 10 players that contract run out in June.
Yeah, so he's going to go somewhere cheap in January.
I mean, they've got, I think Man United have got an option to extend for a year on a lot of them players, but there could be a lot of business around Man United in January and summer because they've got a lot of contracts to tie up.
Well, that worries me then, because if they're going to keep Mourinho there and drive all those players away, like, are they leaving Mourinho in so they just get rid of a load of players off their wage bill so they can just like start afresh? Is that what's happening?
It's a risky tactic.
Last time Mourinho was at Chelsea, that's when we lost, Lukaku, De Bruyne, Torgan Hazard, who's tearing it up in Germany.
Mo Salah,
Schürrle, Juan Mata. Well, not all of these guys are superstars, but more than a few of them are the three of the better players in the league, best players in the league. So if United's going to do the same thing, I really don't mind. I really don't. But I do think it's going to be a really busy January for a lot of people. I think the window closing early caught some teams off guard, especially with how close it was to the World Cup. And I think that a lot of teams with a lot of money, because the Premier League is so rich now, are looking at January being like, we really need to get this kind of player in. We really need to get that. And, we talked about that with Chelsea, but I think there's other teams too.
The only thing with the January window is that, opposition, the teams you're buying from have a really clear image of what you need and what kind of situation you're in. So any team at the minute in the lower half of the Premier League or anyone that's looking for a striker, the prices are just going to hike right up. And that's not just because of that, but also because of the Premier League money involved. And so it's, January transfer signings are always a big risk. And I say that as a team that is supporting a team that has lived in the January transfer window for the last 4 seasons and made all of their record signings in that window. And yeah, it's just a pain. But I think you're definitely right. I think it wasn't really. I think a lot of the teams probably regretted going for this shortened transfer window this year off the back of the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely got to be some suffering in there.
Based on this chat, let me go in with the listener question early. So, Dave Matteo, our brilliant guest from last episode. Don't know, never heard of him.
Who?
He says, with January fast approaching, what realistic signing would you both like your teams to make? So realistic.
Am I limited to just one?
No, not necessarily. You've already.
I'll throw 2 quick names out there that Chelsea have already been linked with a lot in the papers, and not just the Sun and the Daily Mail.
You were right the first time.
Yeah. Alex Sandro, the left back, plays for, I believe, Juventus. He's been was linked a lot over the summer, continues to be linked. And I just spent 25 minutes of the first half of the pod talking about how Luiz and Alonso shouldn't be playing next to each other, but we don't really have other options. Would love a left back to come in. I think he's one of the better up and down left backs in the world. I think he offers as much defensively as he does getting forward. So I don't know that we'd be losing any of Alonso's attack, but we would certainly be gaining so much defense there. One of the other names that Chelsea have been linked with a lot is Anthony Martial. He hasn't played striker lately, but I think that's his preferred position still. And he has to offer more than Morata or Giroud do. I like Giroud in the system, but he shouldn't be good enough to be the main primary starting striker for a team that holds at least some aspirations to win a title and be running around in the Champions League. Right? I like Olivier Giroud, but he's not the A guy. And then the other fun one that I don't think we need at all, but that would just be really, really fun, it would make me so happy, is Christian Pulisic, because he is without a doubt the most talented American ever. He's lighting it up in the Bundesliga, and he keeps talking about how he wants to move to the Premier League, specifically maybe in January. And City and Chelsea and I believe Liverpool are the 3 teams in the running, but obviously I'm hoping it's Chelsea. So.
As for Palace realistic signings, Daniel Sturridge on loan.
The realism is strong.
Yeah, that's my kind of part. I mean, before his horrible, horrific injury, It was Danny Welbeck being linked 3 days before. And so obviously then there were memes everywhere of, find out you might be getting transferred to Crystal Palace. Quick, break your leg. I mean, it's no surprise that where we have problems is up front. I also think we've lacked a bit in midfield, but I don't think that's that we haven't had the players. It's just that Hodgson hasn't really picked the right team. And also, I think Luka Milivojevic has been an absolute shadow of his former self in the last kind of season, so last year's form. And not really been with it and been beaten quite often, making some last-ditch tackles or lunging tackles that have just gone nowhere near the players and they've just ghosted past him on many occasions.
Yeah.
As well as playing James MacArthur as a starting role. And I love James MacArthur and I think he's fantastic for us. And he's one of those players that he comes on and he can really, really disrupt and change at least the intensity of a game. He's not the most technically skilled player, but he can always get into the box and nab a goal. And he got a few last year. But to start him just doesn't really work. He should be coming on towards the end.
Let me throw a name out there for you then.
Go on then.
Ruben. A lot of talk that Ruben wants to go out on loan again. He's been playing in the Europa League. He's been playing in the cup competitions, but his minutes in the Premier League have been very limited. Yeah. And I could easily see him wanting to go out on loan for the rest of the season somewhere. He had a good relationship at Palace, and it seemed to be looking pretty good last season.
Really
do you see
good.
him maybe?
Really, really good. And he's he's a South London boy as well, so that helps, especially with the identity of the club and how strongly it is linked with the area, with academy players and such coming through. I would never say no to Ruben coming back, but I think that would be more of a heart ruling head kind of deal, because I think Palace fans would have a real good... It's the same kind of thing as happened with like Mamadou Sakho. That all Palace fans, because of when he came on loan and he was absolutely amazing, all Palace wanted was Sakho, and just could forsake anything else. And then we end up spending like 30 odd million on him to come in, and no doubt he's good, but still got a mistake on him, has never really been the same as when he had that loan spell. Him and Tompkins have been inconsistent with injuries and not had so much protection again because Luka's off it. And so, although Ruben would be amazing, I don't know at the minute where he would fit within the team so much. But it would be nice to see more of Max Meyer. We've still hardly seen any of him as good as he's meant to have been.
I literally forgot about him.
Yeah. And we're going to get Benteke back. Which Benteke we get back, who knows?
Oh, that's like a signing.
Yeah, it's not... I mean,
No.
Okay, Oscar.
Is it
That's
though?
just shaking his head. It is like a signing. He didn't say it was a good signing, to be fair.
It's like a signing.
We've got Jordan Ayew, and that's like, what's the point of that? Like, just send him back.
There's no mid-level strikers that could go out on loan from a Chelsea, City, Liverpool, have some young kid. We have Batshuayi, he's out on loan in Spain right now.
Yeah, doing really well.
He was doing well, then he stopped doing well, now he's doing well again. There's got to be some young striker somewhere, right? Fucking, what's Iheanacho doing? He's at Leicester now, right?
Yeah, Leicester. He's not really been the same since leaving Man City. And I wouldn't really say that he's the answer to the question. I don't know. Why did we pull at this thread?
No worries. Forget it.
I hate January windows. I hate transfer windows so much because give it another week and you'll see Zaha to Tottenham and Chelsea again, simply because Palace are low down in the table, and that's just it. The same old terrible newspapers, two of which Oscar mentioned earlier, we'll just churn out the exact same articles. They'll probably say it's Wilfried Zaha, but put it as a picture of Jeffrey Schlupp, because that's what they do, and they've done it twice with Wan-Bissaka this season.
Oh my
they're
God.
retarded racists.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know. There's more January windows. I just want to just keep our players more than anything else. Not that it answers your question, Dave, but yeah, we'll probably be linked to Daniel Sturridge. Obscure players in Norway, Sweden, some in North Africa. Will be linked to Abubakar again because that's happened every window for the past 3 years.
But like, who do you want? I guess the question was, who do you want? So
Sergio Aguero.
No,
Okay.
the question was realistic.
Well, I'm changing the rules.
So, Chuck, why don't you cheer yourself up and talk about the Predictor League?
Predicted League of Predictions. Making predictions that we don't know what we're gonna happen, and some of us are good and most of us are bad, like Oscar. How are we doing? Top 3 is actually technically a top 2. Huh?
Oh.
That is because second and third are both even on 42 points. Sadly, friend of ours, John OG, has dropped out of the top 3 and is now sitting at 50 points. But in joint second on 42 is Mr. James Doncaster and Mr. Adam P. Top of the pile, Pad Full on 38. Ian, you are in 6th.
So, holding steady.
Holding steady. I am in 18th on equal points with your son, who is now going to overtake a second person from this podcast. And sadly, I can't say way down anymore because he's not that far behind me, but he is still in last. Oscar. However, you are only on 80 points now.
Oh,
so
that's no fun.
No, sorry that your dream of hitting the 100 club
Yeah.
doesn't really look like it.
All right. Well,
I mean, there's still time.
It'll start being fun again when I'm above you in the table, at least. But
Yeah, I mean, sadly, this is the problem with Wolves not winning in 5 games. They're dangerously veering close to your prediction of being 20th in the league. And so that's where you're going to sneak up on me. But yeah, and then our draft. Do you know how that's going, guys?
Quickly, why not?
Go on, quickly. Oh, Ian, that's surprising.
Yeah, go on,
you want to
then.
go for that. So Chucky is on 68 points with his picks of Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Leicester, and Southampton.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that Chuck is above me. Otherwise, he would have tried to skip over this section.
God, I wish I hadn't picked Southampton. Oscar is on 69 points.
Oh.
1 point in it as
I
Oscar
stand corrected.
has Chelsea, Manchester United, West Ham and Fulham. And Ian, the Stimpson, IS, the man himself, drum roll please. He is at about Oscar's target score for the Predictor League. 114.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm on 69, you said?
45. Yeah, you are.
Nice.
Ian's 45 points ahead of you.
Wow.
The game is over. No one
So he's
cares.
going to finish like double us easily.
That's got to be the challenge, hasn't it? Really, to beat your cumulative score.
Oh my god. Are we going to have to unite, Oscar?
No,
Okay.
that's so unlikely to ever happen.
It's the only way we stand a chance of winning.
I'm still angry at you for picking Palace where you did. You fucked the whole game.
I didn't.
never
I
let
just
it go.
handed it to Ian. Ian gave me a payoff. He went full. He's being investigated by the FIFA ethics board as we speak.
We'll be in season 10 of this podcast, and I'll still be talking about how you picked Palace in that first fucking season.
It will be in season 10 of this podcast, and you'll still be thinking about how I picked Palace in that season as well.
Yeah.
Every year, always the
This is
same.
why we can't. And I'm going to keep picking Fulham. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
picking Fulham to be in 10th place.
There are flaws in this game.
Yeah, their names are Chuck and Oscar.
It was your game. It was your game, dude.
Yeah, the Predictor League is your game, and we're both getting beaten by an 8-year-old.
No, I'm not getting beaten by it.
Yeah.
I'm tied with. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Even footing. So there we go for the Predictor League games. As shambolic as they are. Gents, should we talk about next week's games?
Some real games.
Real games. Love games. Friday night football. Friday night football.
Oh, shit, there's a Friday kickoff. Thank you for that. I definitely would have missed it.
Oh, no, you would have missed Cardiff Wolves. Oh,
Cardiff. The Cardiff Bluebirds versus the Wolverhampton Wolf Wanderers. Yeah, no one wants to see that. I don't know. Warnock will have a lovely time. Maybe. Cardiff will win. I'm saying it.
Boom.
Cardiff win. And then Warnock tells Espirito Santo to fuck off again.
Oh, that was great.
That was lovely. Refusing to shake his hand.
Classic
Because
Warnock.
Warnock's never done something like that.
Yeah.
Then on Crystal Palace Burnley. God, we're going to lose.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not laughing at you, Chuck. I'm laughing with you.
You're not laughing with me because I'm not laughing.
So you hate the transfer window. You hate the matches.
He hates football.
You hate your national team.
Oh, just try and support a shit team, Oscar. Just try it. Just have this carrot of hope dangled in front of you week in, week out. Go through a period where you didn't think you'd get anything and you get 2 points and then be met with, oh, Burnley. Oh, they're terrible. We'll still lose that game. And then, having this run of Burnley, Brighton as well. It's a derby, that'd be good. And then West Ham and then Leicester. That's like, we should be getting 7 to 9 points out of that games. We'll get 2. And that's what will happen. Because
you just always get 2 no matter who it is.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the first half of the year. So we're just going to be crap. And then we're going to go on a ridiculous run the last 9 games and just get saved by the skin of our teeth.
0-0 then?
Yeah, 0-0. Huddersfield, Brighton, Leicester, Watford, Man City, Bournemouth. I smell
That's
a
a
dicking.
paddling.
Yeah.
That's a paddling. Newcastle, West Ham, Southampton, Man United, 0-0. There are no good matches because the good matches are on Sunday.
Yeah,
Chelsea,
by which you mean Chelsea Fulham.
Dicking. Arsenal, Spurs. Spurs do a dicking. And Liverpool, Everton. Liverpool do a dicking.
Those are some good derbies. Those are some legit derbies on Sunday.
Yeah.
Chelsea Fulham are less than a mile apart.
Yeah, but is there really a rivalry? It's not really.
We pretty much going back to Clint Dempsey. Speaking of the last time there was a good American in the Premier League, we pretty much fucking hate Fulham.
When was there? Right, okay.
Hey.
Clint Dempsey was fantasy gold for a while.
He was a gold,
real life gold too.
Wasn't Clint Dempsey a rapper as well?
He has that one off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
When he was in college.
Okay, there's a new episode teaser.
There we go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, there's proper animosity between Chelsea and Fulham, and it's nice to have them back. I like watching that match because it does get a bit feisty, let's say. And I'm kind of hoping that Chelsea really do a dicking there. Be nice to have Schürrle back at the bridge. Much love, Andre. Scored probably one of my favorite ever Chelsea goals in 2014. So that's cool. But then obviously the big
also scored ones. Didn't he also score the 7th goal against Brazil in that semi-final?
That's right.
That's a global favourite goal. That one is.
Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 giant matches on Sunday. As much as it pains me to say so, the biggest London derby is Arsenal Spurs. And then obviously Liverpool Everton. That is always red card central. Liverpool Everton does not fail to entertain.
Which is weird because it's known as the friendly derby, isn't it? The fans don't hate each other. I mean, Liverpool's main rivalry is Manchester United, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, Everton fans hate Liverpool though.
I always find it a bit of a nothing derby, that one. Like you say, it's usually good on the pitch, but...
Yeah, I don't think it's... And the same as Arsenal Spurs, really. It's not... I don't think it's that heated as everyone says. I think there's very few.
That feels like the opposite. It feels like the fans don't like each other, but the match, I don't think... Does the match ever really catch fire?
I don't know. Dele Alli does love a good shithouse.
Well... Dele Alli is a shithouse. So.
Yeah, he is the absolute ultimate wind-up merchant.
Yeah.
He's a shit house. He's mighty.
Letting it all hang out.
A real butt sneeze of a human being.
Yeah, an absolute butt sneeze. God. Isn't that like a celebration on Fortnite or something? The butt sneeze?
I don't know.
I'm not down with the kids enough.
I think the butt sneeze is the sound that Thanos makes when Thor rocks up with that new axe.
Yep.
What is happening right now?
I don't know. Good fixture preview, guys.
Yeah, there we go. So basically what we're saying is go out on Friday night, sleep in on Saturday, and be fresh on Sunday.
Ian, any saucy predictions for this weekend? Anything jump out to you that you want to put a hot take on?
No, not particularly. I think Arsenal Spurs should be interesting just because Spurs are going to be on a massive high. Arsenal laboured the point against Bournemouth last week, I thought.
Bournemouth, more like bored much?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Okay, so before we go, if you want to get in touch with us, we are Miles Offside Pod on Twitter, Miles Offside on Facebook, and milesoffsidepod@gmail.com on the email if you want to be a luminary like Dave Matteo. And also we've got an Amazon link, which I will put in the show notes. If you want to take an Amazon Prime 1 month free trial, then you can do that through that link that I'll put in the show notes, and it gives us a little kickback to support us. And you get a 1 month free trial of Amazon Prime to get all your Christmas presents delivered for free.
For free.
Nothing.
Gratis.
Yep.
Complimentary. Well, that about wraps it up for this week, gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's good to be back talking about football. Oscar, anything else to add? Any closing thoughts? Any final words?
Good day, mate.
Oh dear.
Shrimp on the barbie.
Oh dear.
Dingo ate a baby.
Ian, can you please say something good so we don't end on that?
I'm just... No. Just no. Chuck, you're a...
No, well then. In the wise words of Diego Maradona. And goodbye.